So, if you don't want, um, if you don't want to have the story spoiled for you, make sure y'all click the like button when y'all come on. But if you don't want to have this story spoiled for you, then don't watch this live because I'm going to. So when I first started watching it, um, yeah. So when I first started watching it, um, I was like, because I didn't go to the movies to watch it. I had a link. And I'm glad I didn't go to the movies to watch it because it was a little bit too, it was a little bit too, it, it triggered me. Um, it brought up a lot of trauma for me, but I'm glad that I watched it the way that I did because sometimes when you go to the movies to watch it, you get a whole bunch of bells and whistles, and of it really distracts you from the meat of the conversation. Like you really get distracted because you getting the 3D, you're getting the special effects, so you're not really getting the crux of the movie. So it was a lot of singing, and it just was a lot of singing that I didn't connect with. I definitely connect with the one who played the Wicked Witch, who also played Harriet Tubman. I think I connected with her voice, I connected with her singing, and I kind of knew where it was going. A lot of people who have given this movie bad reviews, I see why now. I mean, the singing was a lot. There was a lot of singing, but it really was. It was fun. It was humorous, but true. Like humorous, but true. Like Glinda's character, the one who played Glinda, like that was spot on. How I feel a lot of times people who are people who are born with this illusion of privilege in this reality just feel like, you know, I helped you. You should be so thankful to be in my presence. Like I love how a lot of in mainstream they're taking the time to give origin stories to perceivable bad characters because they did the same thing with Maleficent that they're doing with the Wicked Witch now. And it's like if we are profound enough to really just pay attention, like yeah, if we are profound enough to just pay attention and to just be present, um we realize that everybody has a backstory. Like everybody has been through something that causes them to be like they are. And so I really appreciate that we're in an era that is taking the time to explain how the villain became the villain or how the villain was perceived to be the villain. And honestly, from what I'm seeing watching, like the Wicked Witch was never the Wicked Witch. It was a narrative that they painted of her. So they twisted the narrative around and they used their platforms. They used their voice, their almost like media uses its voice to villainize people. And so they got on the loudspeakers and it was over the radios and it was everywhere. And they made her the villain. Like they literally made her the villain because she had empathy for the animals. They were taking the voice away from the animals. They was literally, and like to me the animals related to the everyday people. The animals related to me the animals were everyday society. They were the everyday people, and um how I related to the animals because I feel like that's what society is doing. Society is putting those that they feel like is beneath them and can't sit with them, putting them in prisons and taking their voice from them. And so I didn't just relate to the Wicked Witch. I also related to the animals. I felt a deep connection with the animals, how they were being put in cages and how they were having their voices taken from them, and the fact that the Wicked Witch's character was able to empathize with what was happening to the animals, and that was just powerful. I cried at the end. I did connect with it so much that I cried because um this feminine being who had a shade that was not celebrated by the dominant culture was at war with the machine, was at war with the colonizer, was at war with the oppressor. There were so many subliminal messages, and I think a lot of times we like to make movies about race. There was some subliminal race correlations. I definitely feel like they pulled from um, racial tension in society, but it was bigger than that. You know, it was this kind of ostracized femininity. You know, this magical femininity, this powerful femininity. And if we can't use it, if we can't use it to our advantage, if we can't use it in the way that we want to use it, if we can't get it to work for us, if we can't make it a house Negro, then we're gonna demonize it. And also what I liked about this film is that it showed you that Glenda's privilege came from keeping her mouth shut. Her popularity, how people, it came from going along to get along and doing it extremely well. It came from accepting the role that she was meant to play, playing on her strengths as looking familiar, as being mainstream attractive, and playing that up. And that was where the privilege came from. Not really being able to be your own authentic self so much. There was this one moment in the film that made me respect her, and all the other times she irritated me. But when she gave her that hat and everybody was laughing at her, and she started doing that dance, and she did that dance with her because she felt so guilty, because she was the reason why they all was laughing at her. And just the ones that was laughing at her, that was just a whole nother story for me, because some of the ones that was laughing at her, I was like, child, who is you to be laughing at? Like, what? Like, who are you to be sitting up here cackling? And the sister, I know the sister was in a wheelchair, um, but the sister was just like, her sister just was trying to protect her. Like, she was really trying to protect her. And the sister just seemed so weak minded. You know what I'm saying? The sister just seemed so weak minded and was just so desperate to be accepted, and just, I don't know. I didn't feel like she was a bad person. I just didn't feel like she was, I just felt like she was just weak minded, and I really honestly didn't have no respect for the sister, because she was just so, it was just, I'm not gonna go too much into the sister, because I know she was struggling because of what happened to her growing up, being in a wheelchair. But I didn't have no respect for the daddy. I really struggled with the sister's character. I really did. And Glenda was just extremely full of herself. And that was such an unlikely friendship. Like, that was really an unlikely friendship. But I really did appreciate when she did the dance with her. And that was the one moment that she kind of like went against the grain, and she stepped outside the box. And I feel like that's such a real thing in our culture, in society. There's so many of our Caucasian siblings that want to go outside the box, that want to, be ready to make that leap with us, and stand against oppression with us, and stand against tyranny for us. But when it really come down to it, they do exactly what Glenda did. A lot of them, when the rubber meets the road, a lot of Caucasian people, they are Glenda. Come with me. Together we're unstoppable. We could do anything. And Glenda was like, no, this is my opportunity. No, this is, humble yourself, apologize, say you're sorry. Like, you making things hard. Like, no, I want a cushy life. I want my stuff to be easy. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to live. I don't want to go through all of that. I got a little privilege because I'm attractive, and society see it for me. And hey, I want my, like I want my comfy life. No, I'm not ready to be on the land with you. I'm not ready to be a rebel with you. I'm not ready to struggle with you like that. Thank you for getting me here. Thank you for getting me to the eyes. Now, I love you, and I love you, and hey, but I'm not finna go. I'ma stay here. This is cushy. And I think that that's why society stays the way it is. I really, honestly, and truly think that that story did a good job of illustrating why we're stuck, why we're not as a people, as a nation, as a civilization, as the people. It perfectly illustrated what happens when it's time to stand against tyranny. What happens when it's time to stand against the oppressor? What happens when it's time to to take that leap? A lot of people don't want. I don't need to fly. I'm good. I don't. I don't need to fly. I'm up in the high rise. I'm in the ivory tower. I'm way up off the ground looking down at you hoes. I don't necessarily need to fly. I just need to be able to look down at the rest of you little people. And see, the difference was the Wicked Witch didn't want to be in the ivory tower. Wanted, had the ability to fly, but still wanted to be down there at the bottom. Still had, still was comfortable and sought to be around the ones that was considered the lowest in society. And that dynamic in her character was flawlessly executed and explained, how she had the ability to go the furthest out of everybody in the land, the most potential out of everybody. And the most beautiful thing about that was that she sincerely cared about things that other people did not care about, other followers, other sheep, other parakeets. She had the courage to be her own unique, authentic self, and that was a part of the special thing about her that willed her to go further than anybody else. Everybody, some people just wanted to be in a beautiful perched gilded cage, living up high in the sky, but never truly able to fly. Never truly able to fly, never truly able to soar. And that's the reality that we have. A lot of people complacent and comfortable with being able to look down on others, but never truly being able to soar. That's what made me cry. And the reason why she was able to soar was because she gave a care about things that other people did not even see value in. And that dynamic, that nuance in her being, that profoundness in her consciousness, that brought tears to my eyes. Because whoever wrote this, aside from all the singing and the colonial, like, I just wish we could explore art, like visualize art that isn't so 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 everything is always so pastily European. It's like a pastily, even when black people are doing it, it still just gives me pasty Europeanism. Just the pasty kind, like a pale, just the truly pasty pale. Just really, really, really just extremely, and it's like, why can't we like integrate other forms of expression into the storytelling and not have to belittle the other forms of expression and kind of like exalt this pasty, colonialized, European-esque couture, if you will? Like, why is that always the standard in stories that tell amazing stories like this? Because the storyline was amazing. The dynamic, how dynamic her character was just truly powerful, and how she came to be in her backstory to part one was truly amazing. But they had to pastify it. It's like, in order to get these types of messages, you have to be pastified, if you will. I'm coining terms, pastified. In order to get this knowledge, in order to adapt to this frame of consciousness. So even if you get the message, you're going to explore it in a pasty way. In a pastified way. And so if you're invested in that type of expression, then are you really trying to change how we see beings who don't show up in that way, who don't maneuver in that way? Who maneuver in a way and in a fashion and who show up in a way, as far as garb and drag and appearance, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be an awkward relationship because they are not adapting. They are not assimilating. And so they tell you these stories. They tell you these powerful stories, but it doesn't show actual diversity. The only diversity that you really see is the diversity in skin complexion, because there was not she was a black girl with green skin who had really tiny micro braids, but the hair was flowing, in a Caucasian-esque hairstyle. The fashions that she was wearing was a really Caucasian-esque, Europeanized look. And I feel like what would have been more profound, what would have been more inviting and more thought-provoking and more having greater potential to evolve the audience and to expand the consciousness of the viewer and the consumer of the content, is that if the Wicked Witch's character would have presented herself in a way that in no way aligns with American standards of beauty. No way. The only thing that was different about her really was the color of her skin. But in every other way, her aesthetic aligned with the dominant culture. And so, giving someone a different skin complexion is not always enough, because we know that all skin folk ain't kinfolk. We know that all people that look like us don't have the same ambitions and don't experience the American dream in the same way as every other person experiencing this dream. And so to show nuance and to show difference, there should be a greater opportunity in this film and in this movie would have been to give the Wicked Witch a completely different culture, a completely different way of expressing themselves as far as how they dressed, how they showed up. Yeah. And you literally don't have to just do this with black and white characters. You could do this with all characters. Like, show not like this colonial, like everyone is dressed in kind of like the same. Like, I want to see more. I want storytelling to be more complex. I want characters to be authentic and diverse instead of this sort of amalgamation of, like where you as a person kind of like just melt down into everything else, but you just happen to be a different complexion. Because just the fact that she was able to make sense of all of the foolishness that Glenda did to her, all the foolish things that Glenda said to her, all of the like, Glenda did a whole bunch of excuse my French, fuck shit. And the wicked and the girl who played the Wicked Witch, she accepted it because she had normalized toxic relationships from the dominant culture. And I want that to stop being a norm for beings who, for whatever reason, do not fit into the dominant culture. Like this this bottomless pit of grace for the ignorance. Like, why do we always have to have so much grace for willful ignorance? That's a problem for me. Like, we always have to have all of this grace for willful ignorance, for convenient ignorance. Just because it's socially acceptable for them to behave in a certain way by the status quo, we just go along with it because we normalize unhealthy, toxic relationships from people who are mainstream attractive or extremely socially accepted. And so in order to have relationships with them and to be in proximity to their toxicity, we just eat that. Why do we work so hard to be accepted by toxic people, by shallow people, by superficial people, by narcissistic, egotistical maniacs? Why do we work so hard for their favor? People who don't have the courage to be authentic, people who don't have the courage to stand out, people who don't have the courage to do their own thing, people who drank the Kool-Aid, who fell asleep and ain't trying to wake up, who are just comfortable being asleep. Why do we normalize that? Why do we normalize eating dookie? Well, I'm just going to eat that because I want to be in proximity to this because they're popular. People like them. People like them because they know how to play along. They've created this persona of performity, this persona of professionalism, and call it professionalism, but they've created this persona and they've perfected this persona, and I want to be in proximity to that. I want to have access to that. Because in a way, it adds value to me. It adds value to me that I could sit with and be accepted by toxic, elitist, bourgeois people who are never going to fly. They're never going to really fly. But they will gatekeep and sit in ivory towers. So, you know, the movie really just affirmed a lot for me. I just wish that there was more I wish that there was more nuance. I wish there was a greater I wish the divide was greater illustrated. You know, that's one of the things that perplexes me about a lot of the truly profound cinema that we're able to view. The last Airbender, that really upset me that they went out of their way not to give anybody a C4 hair pattern in the whole series. I'm like, Aang came to save the world. So in this world, there ain't nobody with a C4 hair pattern. We are literally in every continent on the planet. We everywhere. This hair texture is everywhere. And Aang came to save the world. And y'all did what, 10 episodes? And we ain't see nobody with hair like this. We ain't see nobody that looked like this and not like this. But he's saving the world. They don't make no sense. The stuff, like, how could you tell a story where somebody is coming to save the world and nobody in the world got hair like this? Yet all of the genetic codes stem from beings like us. It just seemed like spell casting to me. And so, you know, I just feel like it's lost on us sometimes when we storytell and when we, you know, share knowledge and when we share profound perspectives, and there's just not enough there's not enough of complexity. There's not enough of like, I just wish that the Wicked Witch's character, I can't think of her name for nothing. I know it was like Epinda or something like that. But I just wish that her appearance would have aligned more with how different that she was, because they didn't even necessarily need to make her green. To make her stand out. They could have really hybridized some African culture with some indigenous culture with some Aborigine culture. Like, they could have brought a bunch of different worlds together that in no way embodied colonialism or Europeanism. Or this sort of antebellum, medieval type, couture. Like they could have gave her something totally. They could have did something more indirect, that was ancient and connected to um the origins of people who have an abundance of melanin and have the hair patterns that we have. They didn't even have to make her green. And that would have been a more profound story, because at the end of the day, if everything else you're doing, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you act, the way you dress, everything else that you're doing aligns with the dominant culture, are you really that big a threat? In reality, in the movie, yeah. But if you're that willing to assimilate, if you're that willing to align yourself with the culture, and you're that willing to assimilate into the culture, in reality, and because movies, we know that they could tell whatever story they want to, but in reality, if you're that invested in assimilation, how likely are you to be that big a threat? Being realistic. It was cute for the movie, but in real life, well, this ain't real life either, but in this matrix, if you're that eager to align yourself and to show up in the same ways as the dominant culture, and you really, other than the color of your skin, that's the only difference that you have, how big a threat are you? We see this every day with black people. Black people who are eager to align themselves in every other way but their skin complexion with the culture and with the society that we live in. How big a threat are they? Really? How big a threat are you really? So, in movies, we can tell make believe stories and pretend like beings like that are a threat, but no, if you're that eager to align yourself with the dominant culture, if you're that eager to perform in the same way that they perform, maneuver in the same way that they do, if you're that comfortable, how big a threat are you? The domestic box office is going to save Universal Pictures Wicked. International audience isn't going to give this film a chance at the box office. Hmm. And I could agree, because there needs to be more nuance. They could have really honestly internationally, if we could have saw, like if Wicked's character could have went totally against the grain, totally against the grain. If you could have looked at that being and saw nothing that reminded you of America, saw nothing that reminded you of Britain, saw nothing that reminded you of Europe, saw nothing that reminded you of any type of whitewashed, that would have been so profound. That would have been that would have been world, that would have shifted minds, that would have opened eyes. Because it was an amazing performance, the singing. That's why I'm glad I didn't go to the movies and see it, because if I would have went to the movies and saw it, I would have got swept up by the technicolor and the bells and whistles. So the how I saw it, the modality that I saw it, I couldn't get swept up in all that. I couldn't get swept up in the 3D. I couldn't get swept up in all the colors, because the link that I had, it really wasn't giving all that. Really wasn't giving all that. It was it I had buku interruptions, people getting up, walking. So So I really had to pay attention to the storyline. I really had to focus on the storyline, and so that allowed me not to get razzled and dazzled. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when we go to the movies. We get this experience of being razzled and dazzled. And so we're not really absorbing what we need to absorb to be able to see it for what it really is. Good message, good message, but it didn't have the impact that it could have had they totally radicalized the Wicked Witch's character. Not just made them radical in action, but made them radical in every way. So that's I didn't gave 49 minutes to Wicked. Um I have a Ifa priestess that has been engaging with me on my backup Facebook page. And they've been telling me to inbox them because they want to engage with me. And so I'm bringing this conversation to my YouTube subscribers because I want people who have wisdom, people who have guidance. I want y'all to be honest with me because I don't know everything. I have respect for, Ifa. I have respect for that practice, but I also have my own practice. I have my own spirituality. And I just don't understand when people come out of the blue and tell you that they've seen some things that they feel like they need to tell you. And I don't want to disregard people's gifts, but I don't like when people come out of the blue and want to engage with you, and it's like when they finally speak to you, it's to warn you about something. And so that's what it's been, like coming out of the blue, and just all of a sudden you feel this urgent need because you were meditating and you saw all of this stuff. Now, I call my grandmother my mother because my grandmother biologically adopted me. And my grandmother passed in 2010. And when my grandmother passed in 2010, um, there was a lot of negative energy around me at the funeral because um, I was the only one that didn't cry, and everybody thought that I was gonna be the one that cut up the most because I'm allegedly living a lifestyle that God doesn't love, and I'm living in sin, and I'm going to hell according to society, according to the Christian religion. So when my grandmother, who I call my mother, when she passed, I was supposed to be the one falling all over the casket and crying and saying, "Why?" But I was actually very stoic. And I was the one that was actually helping other people to keep it together. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't cry at all because when I first found out that she passed, I lost it. I got down on the floor and cried clockwise and then cried counterclockwise. I was on the walls on the floor and I cried and I ran that way around the wall, and then I cried and I ran the other way like I was trying to turn back time. I literally cried myself like I was running around. I was laying like this and I was doing like this. Like I was doing like that on the floor and doing like this on the floor. I cried this way and then I cried that way. But when the funeral happened, I didn't cry When the funeral happened, I held it together. I didn't cry it out. So the priestess came on my page and said, when your mother died, there was some type of energy around you, and I see a lot of energy around you, basically saying like some negative energy around me, and they want to talk to me in my inbox. And it bothers me because I just honestly don't understand why someone would just come out of the blue and the first time that they have something to say to you, or the first time they want to give you a message, it's one of warning. And it's like, how do I receive that? And I've had priestesses to befriend me on Facebook before, and I just typically ignore them. But this one was bold enough to come in my comment section and leave a comment. And then, normally I just ignore the friend request. But this one came in the comment section and left a comment, and I ignored the friend request. But then they came in the comment section and they left a comment. And so I responded to that comment. And then they came back with another comment that was more specific. And it bothers me that you're bringing up my grandmother's passing, who was like my mother to me. It bothers me that you're bringing that up and you're using whatever kind of knowledge this is. Because my biological mother is still alive. So I'm assuming that you're talking about my grandmother, who was legally my mama, and I call her my mama. And so it bothers me that you're using such a sensitive topic for me and something that I went through to get me to come in the DM and talk to you. Because what's that about? I don't like living, I don't like fear mongering. But I'm also not a person who wants to be rude to people who may be trying to help me, to people who may be trying to advise me, but I don't feel like I need to listen to everyone's advice. And so I think it's wise to ask other people's opinions, to know what other people think. And so if anybody has an opinion on this, if you have thoughts about this, I would like for you to search your hearts, and I would like for you to give me more perspective and different perspective, because they being really, really persistent. And I think it's cowardice to just block them, because they really haven't done anything mean to me. Because we're all dancing in our own delusions. We all believe what we want to believe or connect with what we want to connect with. And I don't want to, I just think that it would be cowardice just to block them. But I honestly don't want to continue to entertain it. But how do I say, hey, no, like, because I graciously was like, I was like, I don't know you, and the first time that you engage with me, you want to talk to why would I need to talk to you in private when we're engaging? All of a sudden I'm just supposed to go straight to the DM because you're if a priestess? I'm supposed to just jump in my DM and just immediately want to hear what you have to say because you're if a priestess? Is that what we doing? Oh, you are if a priestess. Yeah, I want to hear. I'm jumping in the DM. Tell me my future. Tell me what. I talk to spirits too, but I don't be trying to volunteer what I see to other people. I feel energy and presences too, but I don't volunteer the information to other people. Now, if I'm close to you and I constantly feel it because I'm close to you, I may tell you, but not just somebody that I saw online and I connected with their energy, and I just feel compelled and overwhelmed to speak something over your life. So I would like to hear some people's opinion on that. I don't want to belabor that topic. Um, Last night's event was amazing. It was very amazing. We had a beautiful time. It was professionally recorded. We did have a winner for the congregation of SAS. They won $150. They championed mental illness and they did a beautiful job. So I'm still looking. Y'all, the last day for submissions is the 26th. Today is the 25th. So tomorrow is the last day. Anybody who has not submitted by 12 o'clock tomorrow, child, it's a hit and miss. So you're missing out on your chance to win $250, Bookie. So far, we only got one contestant. So far, we only got one contestant, Bookie. I haven't checked my email today to see if it was another person, but so far we only got one contestant. You're missing out on your chance to win $250 to champion either sex work, disabled, um, yeah, sex work, disability, drug addiction, HIV, being trans, being black, mental illness, formerly incarcerated, living below the poverty line, like all of these different stigmas. Like you have a chance to champion one of those stigmas in a 1 minute video after you could explain what Laylim Layler is in an initial message, and then you have a chance to win $250. It's very simple. Let me get on my computer. Right, because tomorrow is the deadline, 12 midnight. I'm going to need that submission. 12 midnight, tomorrow night. I heard 3 other people told me that they was going to enter. I have not seen those emails. Baby, it was supposed to be 4 of y'all. So far, I've only seen one email, and it was yours. So you can't lose if it ain't no competition, sis. But still put some effort into it, though, girl. Still put some effort into it. Still put some effort into it, girl. Don't just give me anything, girl. Because the one who won last night, they actually wrote their y'all gonna see it all. The full event is gonna be they're gonna be finished. We had 2 different camera people. And when I tell you last night's event was amazing. So, in a moment of full transparency, I still have not smoked weed yet, but after the event last night, I did have a half a cup of wine. I did. I didn't even drink enough to get a buzz. Like I didn't even get tipsy. And I was so proud of myself. Like I bought, I bought libations for the event. I bought drinks. So there was plenty. But I gave it all away. I poured some out for the ancestors. I poured a lot out because people had left drinks. I poured their drinks out. The whatever was left, I gave it to people when I was fixing their to-go plates. but I drank a half a cup of 16% wine, and literally I didn't even drink while anybody was there. Like the full event, I did not drink. At the after party, I did not drink. I did not smoke. You know, everybody was drinking, everybody was smoking. One person at the event did not drink, but they did smoke. And so I was the only one at the event that did not drink or smoke. But after it was over with, I did have a glass of wine because I was like, what the hell? Because when I mixed the liquor, I had to taste it to see if it tasted right. And so when I took a swig to taste it to see if it tasted right, I hadn't had a drink in so long, girl. I got a little light, like I felt a little like zhish, but not enough to really like be buzzing. But I felt like a little zhish. And so I was like, "Child, you already took a little sip, girl. You may as well go ahead and have you a half a cup." And so I had a half a cup, and it just helped me sleep. You know, it just helped me. It just helped me to sleep. But I had a half a cup of 16. I had bought some Bacardi. I bought some gold Bacardi. I bought a fifth of gold Bacardi, and I made. And I love mixing drinks. So I went to school for bartending twice. So I always, mix drinks. Lynn, I had bought the food. We had, but Lynn cooked it. Elder Lynn cooked it. So we had cornbread. The cornbread was store bought, but it was still pretty good. But we had homemade mac and cheese. We had cabbage with turkey, with the smoked turkey, and we had macaroni and cheese and apple pie and pumpkin pie because we couldn't find no sweet potato pie. We wanted the pecan pie, but we didn't know if it was out of date because no shade to the Latinas, like the little Hispanic stores, like child, the Latinas and the Pakistanis and them, the Arabics, child, they will sell you some out of date expired food in a minute, baby. It'll be mold and it'll be hard and all that type of stuff. So, I had to go with stuff that had a expiration date on it. And the only thing that had a good expiration date on it was I like apple pie, so it wasn't no tea for me. I love apple pie. I like apple pie and peach cobbler. If but people would have preferred, like, some people ate the pumpkin pie, but melanated people, like black people, child, we like sweet potato pie. If you got to choose between sweet potato and pumpkin, we really don't fuck with pumpkin like that. But I got the pumpkin, and people ate the pumpkin, but it went slowly. And we had two videographers there. Yeah, the event was just really, really nice. Everything flowed nice. Everything, like everything, it was very well done. It was very well executed. Empathy painted two new paintings for the event and brought an old painting. So the art that you see on the wall is mostly empathies. I only painted one piece. Three of the pieces were empathies pieces. So yeah, we it was really nice. It was really nice. It was really nice to say that it was the introduction of the congregation of SAS, and that's what I got funded for. I got a small grant to push out the congregation of SAS, and the congregation of SAS is standing against stigma sovereignly. And so we used last night's event, which was siblings of Sunset, when we were acknowledging the trans people who the sun has set on. They transitioned the body, the physical body, and they moved on. And so that was like the push out. That was the physical push out for the congregation of SAS. And so the online push out for the congregation of SAS is me creating this opportunity for two of my subscribers to win $250 a piece. So that's $500, that I am using these funds that were given to me to push out this objective. Next year, I want it to be bigger and I want it to be bolder. And I think that this right now is just about creating awareness about what I'm doing, about the work, and about the direction that the work is going into, having ambassadors who will champion stigma. And so this is something that I want to keep working towards. And I appreciate my funders who provided this funding for me to be able to do this. I think this was a one-time funding opportunity, but because I feel like it was well received and it was a beautiful experience and we got so much beautiful documentation and so much beautiful coverage, I am definitely excited about continuing this work and doing more of it next year. So I definitely I told y'all that Laylim Layler was not gonna be a 501c3, but Laugh, which is Laylim Layler Artivism, Faith Finances and Features, does have a fiscal sponsor. So we do have the capacity to write for larger grants. But Laylim Layler is not physically going to become a 501c3 because I just don't want it tied with the government in that way. But I may, you know, do it with the Congregation of SAS, but the Congregation of SAS is a program because I don't like saying program. I be saying these my babies. These Laylim Layler is my baby, my child, my offspring, and the Congregation of SAS is my grandchild, my grand offspring, so Laylim Layler gave birth to the Congregation of SAS. And so the Congregation of SAS, we gotta, some of our children gotta take one for the team. So the Congregation of SAS might be the one that's gonna take one for the team. The Congregation of SAS definitely might be one that the Congregation of SAS, I think they built to take one for the team because they were created to confront a lot of the things that go on within the system and to go on in the matrix. And so because a lot of what the Congregation of SAS stands for, it's going to have to be confronting a lot of things that go on in the system. So may as well be a part of it. May as well be legally connected to it. May as well be legally bound to it. So my grandbaby might, my child, Laylim Layler, they're gonna be free, but one of the babies, and I think the Congregation of SAS is built for it. I think the Congregation of SAS is saying, "Hey, I'm built for this. I got this. I could do this. Long as my Mada, Laylim Layler is free, and long as we helping my grandma Kaneen get free, then hey, I'm a go ahead. I'm strong enough. I'm young. I understand how it works. The Congregation of SAS is like, I'm going to do it. I got this. So, the Congregation of SAS might be the one, to take one for the team. So, because the Congregation of SAS was literally designed for it. When the Congregation of SAS was visualized and created, they were created to navigate the system. Laylim Layler was not. That was not. Laylim Layler has the ability to be overarching, to hold space for, but not to submit to, not to humble itself to, not to know. And I have lyrics in one of my songs where I say, what we sold us in the end. I have an incantation where I say, I sold thee and I set the rest free. And so it's this idea that you have to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. You have to have some skin in the game in order to sustain yourself in this matrix. But don't give everything to the matrix. Give what you have to give, but always set something free. Always keep something free. And I think that's enough of us don't have that logic. Like, we give everything to the system. We don't set nothing to the side for tomorrow to be liberated. Nothing to the side to be free. Nothing to the side to work towards liberation. Everything is invested in now, and invested in our oppression, and invested in being held hostage. Everything, we give everything to our oppressor, everything to our oppression, everything to being bound and boxed and placed in a binary. And we don't have the vision or the foresight to not put all of our eggs in one barrel. Because it doesn't matter if you have multiple streams of income or if you're working on multiple projects. If one of them is not dedicated to liberation, all your eggs is still in one basket, boo. And financial liberation is not liberation. Because a lot of times financial liberation, in order to get that, you place yourself in more chains. Financial liberation does not always equal autonomy. It just equals fancier chains. But I'm going to get off that nerve. It keeps spinning and turning. Iangani, Iyanko, Kalukalo, which means I am a child of God Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. Bound and round, both circle and square. We too speak life, so operations beware. Sending healing to those in despair. El Babo Sawai, which means we come in peace. No harm to any lelem lele, lele lelem, which means we can both live on inside of her and him. So y'all have a beautiful day. Thank you for coming on and sharing time and space with me. Remember to light your candles to acknowledge the ancestors of past, present, and future. And know that when you light that candle, you are creating an intensity and a power that will grow in the spirit world. And it will prepare us for times that are now. Amen, a woman. Lalem Layler. Purple ones rise. I love y'all. Good night. And remember, tomorrow at 12 midnight, get it done. Get it done. I will probably check in with y'all tomorrow night just to give you updates on everything, because I want it to be said that I did not promote this and I did not make people aware. Anyway, I love y'all. Purple ones rise. And I will talk to you soon. Later. And if you need the email, just ask for it in the comment section, and I will put it down there in the comment section. Y'all have a good night. Later. Look at my nails. Now they growing, but they look so bad. Don't that look bad? Ooh, just a chipped purple one, huh?